What's going on, everyone? Happy Friday to everyone. Hopefully, everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long-term issues. Nope, this is not the Friday edition of the Pandemic Update. You do not see me sharing my screen. You see me on camera, and we are about to do a little talk about something that has been bothering me over the past week. And it really took it to the next level yesterday when I read a couple stories. One, which I shared on the Thursday edition of the Pandemic Update. There's a problem going on right now. More and more times when there are outbreaks of COVID, illness, flu, or whatever it may be, sickness, we'll say. For whatever reason, they can't question, well, was it COVID? They can't say if it was COVID. They have to come up with some other silly name. Oh, there's this mysterious, highly contagious illness spreading, and it is causing the closure of schools at such and such school in Ohio, or such and such school in California will be closed on Thursday due to a high outbreak, high number of people down with illness. Okay, take the extra step. Ask that school district. Ask that business or whoever it is. Are they testing for COVID? Does it have any relation to COVID? Is it COVID? Don't just say mysterious illness. People need to know what's going on in their community at any point in time. They need to know how much COVID is spreading in their community. It's maybe 2024. The president and CDC may have declared the public health emergency over. They may have stated the pandemic's over. That does not actually mean it's over. Brushing the word COVID underneath the rug and trying to hide saying the word COVID as much as possible does not make the pandemic gone. It may be 2024, but I got a newsflash for you. In the last week, B&O News reported over 2,500 people died of COVID. No, they were not flu deaths that were marked down as COVID because, let's face it, they're not doing that. In fact, if anything, it's probably likely an undercount of COVID because we just saw yesterday a lot of excess deaths that have been reported during a pandemic, in fact, turned out to be COVID. And that's a report that came in from Boston and Penn Medicine, the University of Pennsylvania, here in Philadelphia where I live. Their research shows that a lot of these excess deaths actually ended up being COVID, but never got included in the COVID count. Yeah, makes you wonder, how high is the real death total here in the United States? It's pretty high. Then you have another thing to factor in. There were 1,000 flu deaths last week, separate from COVID. See here, we do actually have two separate counts, meaning that flu deaths are not being counted as COVID. Flu deaths are separate from COVID. Then let's take this even further. There's still a lot of people getting infected each week. In fact, we are on the second largest wave of the entire pandemic. The only wave higher was the BA.1 Omicron wave back in late 2021 going into early 2022. But wait a second. I thought the pandemic was over. I thought the public health emergency was over. Yeah, they declared it over, but doesn't mean it is over. Second biggest wave? That doesn't make it over. And guess what else is happening? We're seeing high levels of newly added long COVID cases. That's right. There's been people getting long COVID since 2024. That number's been going up and up. It's into the tens of millions. Matter of fact, around the world, it's well over 100 million at this point. People that now have a long-term illness called long COVID. You know what long COVID is? You get COVID. You eventually test negative. You feel no better. Sometimes you get sicker. Sometimes you have new health problems. You don't recover. Guess what? That's long COVID, and millions of people are suffering that, and thousands of people are going on to develop long COVID each week after they're testing negative from COVID. They're not recovering, and in some cases, some people are testing positive for multiple weeks. That's a form of long COVID as well. Everyone gets it differently. I have some form of long COVID. Started back in 2020. I had a suspected case of COVID. I had a rider. I drove for Uber passengers and Lyft passengers at the time. I had an Uber rider, just returned from Egypt, was sick, and passed it on to me. I got sick. I was sick for a month, got better, thought, okay, everything's fine. Then I started getting really tired. that had all these symptoms starting up. And they just come and go whenever they please. I could have 1 month, I could have multiple months, I could have a week where I feel perfectly fine again. Then I come back to a period where, oh boy, now I'm tired again, now I'm having breathing problems again, or now I'm coughing again, or whatever the case may be, because it picks and chooses when it wants to come. And there's a lot of people that have that problem. I took a poll this morning. More than half the people in this poll so far state that they deal with long COVID where, they may start feeling better again. They may think, you know what, I'm feeling better. Maybe I am finally recovering. Then, like that, it comes back again and they're feeling crummy. They don't feel like doing anything. Hey, I'm one of those people. There'll become days where I just don't feel like doing a darn thing. Well, guess what? All this, everything I just mentioned, can be prevented if we take the proper measures. And if we continue to report on the pandemic and COVID being a real issue each day. Not talking about COVID is not benefiting anyone. It's just allowing this illness, this highly contagious virus, whatever you want to call it, because it's been called many different things. COVID is the proper thing to call it. It's allowing COVID to go on to continue to spread, to continue to infect more people, to continue to kill more people. And yes, I have to say this as well. For some people, getting long COVID, it's almost as if they're not dead, but it's impacted their life so much that they can't go on to do a darn thing anymore. Their life is completely changed and turned upside down to the point that they can't even do anything. Is that a way we want things to go on? Because I got news for you. The longer we let this go on, the more people are going to get infected, the more this virus is going to mutate, the more people are going to get long COVID, and the consequences from that, we will not be able to turn around from. There will be the point of no return. We will come to the point where certain industries will collapse because all of their employees, all the people that work that industry, even people that have degrees or have a skilled trade, they're not going to be able to work anymore because they're going to be so tired and sick from having so many infections that that's it. They're done. Their body will not be able to function anymore. We can prevent this if we just mention COVID in our media stories. Maybe give it a little more attention. Report on the numbers in your community. Report what's going on. When there's an outbreak, say the C word. I know you don't like it. I know you don't like hearing about it, but you have to report on COVID. That's the point I wanted to get across today. That's the point I wanted to make clear because let's face it, we all want to be healthy, right? No one wants to get sick and be stuck at home or become bedridden, which does happen. We want to live a long and healthy life. We can do that by taking the proper measures. Masking, clean air, and proper reporting on the ongoing COVID pandemic. When levels go up in your community, do something about it. Report on it. Tell your friends and family, hey, COVID levels are starting to go up. We need to help protect ourselves again. We don't want to develop long COVID. It's a real deal. We don't want heart problems. We don't want brain fog. We don't want blood clots, strokes, on and on I could go. Shortness of breath. We don't want any of that. We want to stay healthy. And we can keep ourselves healthy. To those who do not have long COVID, you can keep yourselves healthy if you take these proper steps. You can help prevent yourself from going on to develop COVID, to catch COVID, and develop long COVID, or even worse. You could still die from COVID. Even if you are vaccinated, there are still people who die of COVID simply because maybe they had it too many times, maybe they had an underlying condition, or they are just unlucky and they had a real high viral load and they went on to get sick from COVID severely. I mean, it happens, okay? Alrighty, that's all I wanted to bring to your attention today. I know, this was a heavy topic, but it needed to be said. If you enjoy these updates, give this a thumbs up and subscribe down below and share this with anyone who needs to see, especially share this one. It's really important that we report as the media. I admit, I'm a part of the media as well, I guess you could say, because I do report on COVID every day. We need to do our best to report on illnesses and talk about them for what they are. If you're going to do a report on an outbreak, check and see if it's COVID. Ask them, was this COVID? And you can at least put in the article stating, hey, we did ask to see if anyone was testing for COVID, if it was COVID related, they wouldn't comment on that, or whatever the case may be. But we need good transparency to help keep everyone safe. Alrighty, folks, I'll see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Friday.